question in the Students Services Committee. We have a few items here. 7.01 is the intermediate unit contract for the Edmund Thomas Alternative Education for the 2016 and 2017 school year. We have 7.02, the intermediate unit contract for special education programs and services for the 2016-17 school year. Any additional information? It's pretty standard,
I
right?
think so, yeah, we do it every year.
And then our last series, 7.03 through 7.08, these are all resources, textbooks, media. We have German, middle school music, French, geometry, honors, pre-calculus, and accounting. I believe the total amount is around $108,000, if I'm not mistaken, for all these resources that we need. We do have one item, information item. Me and Mr. Niekamp discussed last week a couple of ideas of things that we thought should be brought to the attention of the board and the community. And one of them, which we're going to bring forward today, is the homeless data summary, which I think a lot of people in Mill Creek don't understand that we do have students in our district who are homeless. And I want Mr. Niekamp to present some of that information to the board.
Sure, so Mr. Hosford had asked to put together just a brief presentation about our homeless population and programs that we offer here at the district. So I did that in the form of a Word document that you all should have. So as you can see, since the data, the number that I have starting with 2008 and go up through this past school year, we have had a pretty significant change in the demographic for students identified as homeless. I think I figured it out. There we go. So for our 2015-2016, this past school year, we had a total of 49 students who were identified as meeting the federal definition of homelessness. And 24 of those students were accompanied, which means they were with their parent or with their guardian. And 25 of those students were not accompanied, which means they were living without a parent or a guardian. Just a little bit of data about where those students were living. 31 were sharing housing with others, which is called doubled up. 9 were living in motels. 7 were housed at a shelter at one of the multiple shelters in Mill Creek or Erie City. And 2 were in temporary foster care. That's going to change next year with the ESEA, where temporary foster care is not going to be considered homeless. But that's going to start with the next fiscal year. The federal law that this falls under is the McKinney-Vento Act of 1987, which it's a long law, but some basic standards for the school districts is every district has a homeless liaison. For Mill Creek, that's me. The goal is to keep kids stable in school while their families are experiencing transition or challenges. And another goal of the law is to eliminate any barriers for enrollment in school attendance. So students who present as being homeless or parents who present as being homeless, we are required to immediately enroll them, regardless of such things that we usually require, like immunizations, birth certificates and records, and even guardians to be present. So we get the kids enrolled immediately, and we ask the questions as we're going through the enrollment process, or even in the weeks that follow. We're required to provide transportation to the district of origin. So what that means is if we have a student who is, an example that happened here, we had a student who was from Wattsburg School District, and they're homeless in Mill Creek, living at one of our hotels, and they want to continue to go to Wattsburg. We have to work with Wattsburg to provide transportation to and from Wattsburg while they're experiencing homelessness. So we spend a decent chunk of time working on transportation challenges between the two districts. They get free, students identified as being homeless are entitled to free breakfast and lunch. We provide them with necessary school supplies, and we make referrals to other agencies that are able to provide some other types of supports. A little bit more about our demographic. The federal definition talks about 3 basic criteria. for determining whether or not somebody's homeless, and that's whether they have a fixed place to live, whether it's adequate, for example, if the student's sleeping in somebody's basement or in a dining room or on a couch, and whether it's regular, which means they have a right to live there. So sometimes students who are doubled up or staying with friends, even though they might have a place to stay temporarily, it's not regular if they don't have a legal right to stay there. So they can be put out at a moment's notice. At the average age of the homeless person in the United States is 7, and there's 2,615 homeless individuals in our region, which is a pretty expansive. It's not just Erie County, but it's Erie, Crawford, and Warren counties, and there's a little bit over 26,000 individuals experiencing homeless in a calendar year in Pennsylvania. And just I listed some basic causes that happen, that are typical for the students in our district. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about our 50 out of 7,000 is a pretty small percentage, but I think sometimes people are surprised to know that we have students in our district who are considered homeless.
I have a couple of questions. Relative to those individuals, children, that come into our area, have you been in contact with the Customs and Border Patrol, Mr. Signorino? There are issues of trafficking, and they are usually in a situation where they're working anywhere from 7 years of age all the way up to 18 years of age. Have you contacted the Customs and Border Patrol in Fairview?
I've never spoken with anybody from Customs and Border Patrol.
We're looking at 2,600 homeless in our region. That's 10% of what is in the Commonwealth of PA. That's kind of high. Of the 49, you're looking at 58, 59, 60% increase from 2008 to 2016. Of the 49, are they U.S. citizens?
Yes, they all are U.S. citizens.
Okay, and you can validate that. I would suggest to contact the Customs and Border Patrol relative to human trafficking because it is happening. It is happening in Erie, Pennsylvania. Thank you.
I just, we can't ask for visas and we can't check visas. That's against the law. And really the responsibility for trafficking in Border Patrol is Border Patrol. So we'll let them do their job and we'll worry about educating students in our schools.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Somehow I might have misunderstood. Is that number that we have, is that a rising number? Is that sort of consistent?
Well, our number for the last, it's 49 this year, last year was 52, the previous year was 74, and then 37, 41. So I'd say we're about averaging around 50 on average per year.
I'm surprised if I just didn't know that.
I had one other thing I'd like to just add, and I looked at Mr. DePlacido, and I just wanted to let you guys know, because I know you've been aware of our Project Surge program that we're going to be kicking off in the fall, and that's moving ahead full blast. But Carol Hirsch, who's going to be the teacher for that program, she had a completion ceremony at it's actually the last year that the house is going to look like it does right now. We're still going to use it as a laboratory for our students, so we're still going to be using the facility. But she had a completion party for her students this year, and as she does every year. And interestingly enough, last year, under Mrs. Hirsch's kind of guide, all 4 of the students left their program with a full or part-time job. So she was 100% last year, and this year, 3 of the students, and these students all have disabilities, all 3 of the students this year left with a firm plan to, one is going to be attending Mercyhurst Northeast's Oasis program, another student is going to be attending Hiram G. Anderson or in Johnstown, and the 3rd student is set up to work with Office of Vocational Rehabilitation and some on-the-job training. So again, I just wanted to just acknowledge what